Hey everyone, I'm Marina from Pineapple Yarn, and I'm here to share with you what I have been working on this week. So this is the second, full week of Tour de Fleece, and I feel like it's been going on for longer than that, but maybe it has. I don't know. Time has just been flying by so quickly. I have been loving Tour de Fleece this year, and I feel like this is the first year that I have done it, that I have really been enjoying it. And I've even been watching the Tour de France every night, or at least the highlights of it. So I don't have the TV on all day, but I've been spinning up a ton of my stash fiber, and it has felt so good to get some of this fiber out. So let me share all of the beautiful yarn I have been spinning up. So I did share some of these fibers maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago, but the first one, and I don't think I've shown you this yet, but this was from Paradise Fibers, one of their fiber clubs, and it is this beautiful blend of merino and pineapple fiber. It was just an amazing combed top with lots of different variations of coral. So like a peach, light peach, coral, maybe a deeper burgundy color. And so instead of spinning this from the fold, which is normally what I do with like a combed top that has different fibers in it, and it's not really blended, you can see all the different streaks of fiber that go through it. But what I did with this is I actually just spun it just from the top, just worsted style, and I think it turned out really pretty. You can see there are flecks of white in it, and that is the pineapple fiber, and it just turned out so pretty. I really like this fiber. I would say it's about a worsted weight. It's a 2-ply, and I even wrote tags. I was really good and took notes. Like I said, this is a blend of merino and pineapple. And I want to say, I haven't done the calculations yet, but I want to say I got maybe 100 yards of this. And I would say, and like I said, I haven't done the yardage, the final yardage and the weight yet, but I would say maybe this is 2 ounces. I don't really know, but you can tell it's a smaller skein, and it took no time to spin up. So this was really fun. And yeah, it was really great. So I've got this, and that was fun. And then the next one I did was this was just a beautiful combed top. And like the merino and pineapple, this had a lot of variations in it. It's a merino, mulberry silk, and bamboo. And so the bamboo is this super beautiful turquoise, like a deep turquoise color, and you can see it kind of catches the light and has this beautiful reflection. And then it had different shades of green, a rust color. This was a really beautiful top. So instead of spinning this directly from the comb top in a worsted style, I actually broke pieces apart, chunks about this long from the top, and then folded over my finger and spun it from the fold. And I thought it turned out really nice. The colors are just beautiful, and because there is so much color variation in here, this will look really nice with different colors. If you wanted to put a rust or a peacock blue or turquoise or different shades of green, all of those would be really pretty. So it's really funny because I'm looking at my tag after I was just so proud of myself for writing notes, and I think that I have been just hanging these up and washing them, and almost I would say every 3rd day I'm doing this, and I totally have not weighed it, and I didn't measure the yardage on it. So I guess I haven't been that great at taking notes, but I would say this isn't the most consistent yarn. I would say maybe there are pieces that I would say overall it's probably a DK weight. So the yardage is probably maybe 250 yards, around there. I think this was a 4-ounce sample of yarn, maybe. So anyway, I might have a little more yardage because I was spinning it long draw. When you spin that, you get the air in each strand of yarn, which makes it a little loftier, a little lighter. So this was really fun to spin up. And then I have my final skein of yarn, and at this point, it's so funny, I'm seeing this progression of how terrible my notes have become because I don't have a tag for this at all. I don't have any info from this at all. I think it is a merino and bamboo blend. Maybe there's some mulberry silk in it. This was most likely from a Paradise Fibers club. I don't remember. But I think it turned out so beautiful. I mean, I would not reach for this on a shelf normally, but with all these different autumnal colors all spun together is just beautiful. So what I did with this one is I actually spun from the fold, just like the last skein that I shared with you, and I actually spun it quite a bit thinner than the other two. And so this actually would probably be, maybe a sport to DK weight. It's very thin. And I do remember when I wound this up into a hank, I had a lot of yardage. I do remember that. I had a lot of yardage. I don't remember now. I don't remember now how many, which is really such a shame because this is quite a bit of yardage for a project. It would be great for a project. So I don't know. But here it is. This is just a really, really beautiful yarn. So happy how this turned out. And you know me, I don't care for silk so much. I don't care for even like bamboo in it. It's not my favorite. But it is really beautiful when you see the yarn finished and it has that sheen and it just catches the light a little bit. It's really pretty. So those are the 3 skeins that I've completely finished this week. And I did have one more project that I worked on that was quite a challenge. I have it still on a bobbin here. And I don't really know what I'm going to do with this. So let me back up and just share with you what this is. This is it's a portion of a washed Tunis fleece that I purchased. And I did not purchase it in person. I purchased it online. And I'm a newbie. This is the first time I've ever purchased like an unprocessed wool. And of course I had to pick an obscure breed of sheep as well. But like I said, this is Tunis, and I processed it by using a box picker. So it picked apart the wool, and then I carded it on my brother, I think it's called a baby carder. And the only reason I got to that point, the first reason I chose to use the box picker is basically a box picker just separates the locks. And there was so much VM in the wool, and VM is just vegetable matter. That's what it stands for. So hay or grass or whatever the sheep has been into, really. There was so much, and I didn't know how to get it out. So I used a box picker to pick it apart, and that did help quite a bit. That helped quite a bit. There was still a lot left in there, and so I used my baby carder to try and get some out. And by this point, I was seeing that there were, again, with my limited knowledge, there were a lot of second cuts, a lot of very, very short pieces. As far as I knew, with Tunis fleece have a fairly long to medium to long staple length. I don't want to say long, maybe medium. The staple length on this was not consistent throughout. Maybe I mean, there were pieces that were an inch to maybe 2 inches. And so carding helped a ton. All that to be said, I do have 2 bobbins that look like this. And as you can tell, there are lots of short pieces in it, lots of neps, and there still is a good amount of lanolin. I can feel the grease as I spin, which doesn't bother me, but I wonder now, of course, hindsight, I wonder now if I really should have just washed it again, even though it said it was washed beforehand. I'm wondering now if I really should have just washed it again. I'm quite tolerant of VM. I've had comb top that had VM in it, and it doesn't really bother me. But to spin this, and I can tell that it's just a really beautiful wool. Yeah, it was a little disappointing, to be honest, and really discouraging as a beginner who would like to process a fleece someday. That's what I would really, really like to do that. I don't know if I would say I'm intimidated, but I'm worried that it will happen again, that if I buy a fleece online, because I don't really have anywhere I can buy it locally or even close to me, I'm afraid that I will get a fleece that will be difficult to process. I don't want to say a bad fleece, but I think you know what I mean. So anyway, so I think you can see though, all these little short pieces have just been caught up in the yarn, and I don't care. I just decided to spin it up and not really care too much. The funny or strange thing about it is this gray color. This was not the color of the fleece, and I put it through my baby carder maybe 3 different times, and it came out gray, and I'm only assuming it's from the teeth of the drum carder, which is crazy. I don't really know why else this would be gray. And I did experiment with some hand carders. It did not card up very well at all with hand carders at all. I was not getting good results at all. But the hand carded portions of the fleece that I was trying out are still kind of that nice, just your typical ivory white that you would expect from a white fleece, I guess. Anyway, so that was kind of my experiment into unprocessed wool. Little disappointing. We'll see how the yarn turns out. It's not going to be consistent. I did spin this. I tried to spin it woolen style by just tearing off chunks of my bats from the drum carder and trying to do it woolen. It did actually hold up quite well while spinning, just all the short pieces and neps. So it might turn out to be really, really awesome and just be great in the final knitted project or woven project. So I'm going to apply this together tonight, and we will see how it turns out. The last thing I'd like to share with you is I did kind of a gauge swatch with some of my finished yarn that I shared with you last week, I think, or the week before. This was a Rambouillet that I dyed with my 9-year-old daughter, and I did kind of a mini gauge swatch. So I didn't really do a swatch, but I had an idea of the needle size I wanted to use that would make the best fabric. And then what I wanted to do is just find a pattern from there, because I'm going to knit her a sweater. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. So I knit this mini gauge swatch, and I separated the 2 needle sizes with this line of purl rows. But the bottom one was a US size 7, and then the top was a US size 6. And while the US size 7, it has a nice drape, and it is really nice. The US size 6, I like the density of the fabric. It's not too dense, but since this is going to be a winter sweater, I definitely want it to be not a lot of air coming through, not a lot of cold air. But isn't this neat how this ended up knitting up with the pink going into the dark purple, going into the dark green, and then this has become a lighter green. I really like how that turned out. And I am using my Addy interchangeable set. These are my 4-inch needles. They are sharp and I love them. The pattern that I have settled on, I think will fit the gauge, this gauge swatch. It is called the Kids Basic Seamless Top-Down Raglan Sweater. I think that's what it's called. I will link it below. I've made it before on other sweaters, or I've knit it before, and it's really great. I like this pattern. It's super basic, and I'm just looking at the details right now. Well, I will link it below, but it uses, I think the sample, one of the samples was knitted in Cascade 220, which as far as I remember is, I think it's a DK weight yarn. So that would be perfect to use for this, because when I knit with a size 6, usually that's like a DK weight yarn. I will measure my gauge swatch one more time. My tiny gauge swatch. I hate doing gauge swatches. But this is it. This is all I'm doing for the sweater, and it's top down, so she can try it on as she goes. I'm sure it'll work out just fine. It'll be fine. And, you know, if it ends up being a little too big, she'll grow into it. And if it's too small, I can rip back and add some more increases. So it'll all work out. But that's my plan for that. And throughout Tour de Fleece, I will continue to spin as much as I can. And because we're coming to the end of it, I think there's only, let's see, today's Friday, the 22nd. And I want to say there's only like 2 more days or something. It's very, I think there's only a couple more days. So the spinning time is slowly coming to an end, and I will want to start focusing on other projects. So it has been really fun though to spin this much and to get this much accomplished. So I do want to remind you that I will be having a shop update tonight, which is Friday the 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at pineappleyarn.com. I did upload a shop update preview yesterday, so if you want to see what's going in the shop, feel free to just hop on over to my channel, and I've got a little video there showing all of the fun things going into the shop. And this will probably be my last update for a while, as I get advent calendars dyed and wound and packed up and ready to send out later this fall. But I want to make sure that I get all those done so it's not a scramble at the end, because that's no fun. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you're interested in shopping this update while I have some goodies in the shop, definitely check that out. And thank you so much for all of your support, and for those of you who will be headed over there tonight. But that is it for me this week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this episode, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week with another episode. But until then, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.